Okay, we are live.
Great. The time is 5 o'clock. This is a work session of the Silverton Board of Trustees. It's November 15th. We don't have to call to order. This is a work session. All trustees are here and accounted for. And we have our deputy clerk, no, our public works administrator, also acting as deputy clerk for a little bit longer, and Gloria Kochberger.
All right.
In
Thank you for that. I really appreciate that'll be
one more extra here, Tyler.
Sorry.
they're kind of floating. I got one more of these.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
I've got.
They're supplement to what's in your packet. It's just a copy of your trustee priorities. And then I had some leftover state of the town ones. So I thought I'd give that to you in case you missed this state of the town.
It was awesome.
No questions.
Yeah, I mean, she got answered them all. No more questions in the town.
I
Great.
think I did it again and I overwhelmed. Okay, so I'm gonna share, we're gonna start tonight with, so tonight's a budget overview. And what you got in your packet is a snapshot of the budget as it's being worked on in time. So you'll notice that it wasn't balanced and you didn't have all the line items yet. Because we're so early on in this process that I wasn't comfortable doing that at this time. So what I'm going to show you here, and you have a copy of it, is the Silverton Board of Trustees priorities. And why I'm putting this in front of you all is to ensure that as we move forward talking about our budget, we have our priorities in mind that we have all agreed on, because we are going to get to certain line items that we don't agree on. And that's okay. But we do have some guiding principles that we've already put in place, and that includes our trustee priorities. We came to these priorities through the master plan as well as the citizen survey and talking with staff at one of our retreats. So highlighting, investing, and prioritizing in infrastructure, promoting open and accessible communications and access to services, supporting affordable housing supporting affordable workforce housing, and then financial sustainability. So with these all in mind, that this is what we've prioritized, then we can kind of jump into the budget. Does that sound good? Any questions or comments? Okay. So there's several different ways that you can start a budgeting process. You can start from zero. Everything gets zero, and then you prioritize and you say, okay, let's, put money towards this or that. It can be program based. So we say, okay, we are looking at the program of wastewater treatment plant, brownfields grant, and perimeter trail. And that's where we want to focus our funding, and everything else is supplemental to that. Or you can do what we have been doing in the past, which is our line item budgeting, where we pull from last year's numbers, we put it into this year's, and then we say, should we go up or down from that? So those are some kind of frameworks that have been used in budgeting in the past. We haven't ever done the zero-based budgeting. We haven't really done the program-based budgeting, but we have done this line item where we go from one year to the other. So in that, I went from last year's budget and put in, you'll see in your packet how it says, and I'll pull that up here because I'm trying to make it interactive. How it says these necessary increases, and then we have staff requests, and then we have outstanding. So I thought that was kind of a way we could frame this going into it, and talk about these necessary increases that I've already built into the budget. And then the staff requests have not necessarily been built into the budget, and knowing that we have these outstanding line items moving forward. So I think we'll talk through the budget first, and as some of the issues that I've identified with our process for the budget might come to light as we talk through these line items. I will pull up my version of the budget. So I'm going to stop share. And here we're going to go into share again. Does anyone have any questions or critiques to the process at all? Nope. Okay. Yeah, sec to get this guy up again.
Actually thought that summary page was really nice because sometimes we dive right into the line items and kind of like lose the forest through the trees. So I liked the kind of big picture summary.
Some challenges we've been having is rebuilding a budget this year while trying to do the budget since we got rid of ClearGov. And I didn't realize how much I'd miss ClearGov until I got this back, and now I really miss ClearGov, but that's okay.
Put it in your staff request.
Well, because I'm not gonna be here.
Well, do we need it?
Honestly, that's a great kind of prompt for what the next administrator needs. Like if that's something that they feel would be valuable, or if they're okay with this, like I wouldn't want to assume their needs. Okay, so on this first page, we have a budget summary. So this is looking at just for 2026 beginning fund balance. So this is what we're estimating our ending fund balance will be in 2025. And then our revenues and our expenditures, and you'll see this is a little different because I've been working on the budget since I published what's in the packet, but I wanted to give you guys an idea of what we had. So right now we're at revenues at about 3,693,297, and expenditures over here, maybe I should highlight them. Yeah, that works.
A little bit.
Yes.
Get bigger, please.
Wow.
That's for you. Yeah. Is that better? Yeah, thank you.
Yes, okay. So we are balanced at this moment in time, I would say. We have expenditures of 3,691,129. This does include in your packet, our health insurance. It's
does.
up, yes. Our health insurance is going up 14.1% next year.
Ooh.
Something that we have been talking about in clerks lists and trying to figure out, honestly, all of the municipalities are kind of panicking at this number. And I will note that the draft administrative fees that I have in there don't include benefits. It's only based on our salaries. And the justification for that was because we thought that if we just include salaries and not the benefits, we would have these salaries regardless if we had the enterprise funds. But at the same time, it could be argued that we have enterprise funds as a function of government and all costs should be recuperated. So there's a little bit of play there on how we interpret what is fair to charge our enterprise funds. It does also include the administrative fees, which is down 100,000 from last year based on the new drafted administration fees that we had talked about. It also includes, and I got to pull up my memo, sorry. It's not all on the top of my head here. Okay, the cleaning contract. So Mavis retired. We've had a screaming deal with her for 30 years and it was going to go up. What we did to offset some of the cost of the new cleaning contract, we received one bid. And we're working through negotiating each facility right now. So we kind of put in the highest number we could for each one, just anticipating, but we do anticipate that to go down. We also, knowing that this is a larger sum than what we've paid before, we are getting rid of the Alsco mat service that we have, and saving ourselves some money there so that it's not as big of an impact. We don't feel like it's necessary to have mats delivered from Durango as you dive into this. And then our retirement, we talked to the board earlier this year to help promote retention of staff and create a competitive environment. We asked that we do a 4% contribution instead of a 3%. So that's about $11,000 increase coming up. So those are all the necessary increases that I've put in here. And then we have, and that is a budget impact of about 186,000 altogether. And that includes those administration fees, which went up 100,000. Then we go into
down 100,000.
Yeah, technically it reduced our income from our enterprise funds by 100,000.
The enterprise funds look better, the general fund looks worse.
Right. Yes. And then we have some staff requests that we've talked through. One of them was pay adjustments for clerk and community development director. And now in this morning's finance meeting, we asked the consultant to go back to the drawing board essentially with those wage bands. So this number could change. It's just a guesstimate at this point, knowing that they are likely under in general, but we will get a new set of wage bands here soon by the October 20th meeting to reevaluate that. Groomer financing. So we are supposed to be selling our groomer this year for 30,000, even though we haven't gotten any bites yet. And we have a lot of people asking for trades at this point. So we're evaluating the trade option, but that would increase our financing. We have a quote right now that would be 20,000 a year for that groomer, but that could potentially go up. We also have a request for replacement vehicle funds. So we do have several vehicles that need to be replaced desperately. Even with our wonderful mechanic, he has limped them along as far as he can, but we are in desperate need of better vehicles. And then the big one here is the full-time FPR, Facilities, Parks and Rec position. This would include salary and benefits. And this budget impact would be about 53,000 because even though the whole budget impact would be 78, this would be, we would reduce that part-time line item because then you would have a full-time person. So really trying to build up that FPR department. One thing that I talked to Steve about is he's like, wow, we contract out everything. What if we had our own maintenance person, like really competent maintenance that could do, you know, a little bit of plumbing, a little bit of everything and not have to rely on these contracts so much. So this was his idea on this. Then we had the Kendall Lodge insulation project. This wasn't identified in our capital improvements plan because it wasn't found yet. But when we found it, we found that underneath Kendall, all of the insulation has been eaten by rodents. So that is why it's been so difficult to heat that area and keep it warm, honestly. And like a project like this would then help with our overall cost of heating as well. And then what was identified this year for Kendall was the roof fix. And so it's been estimated around 145,000. What we haven't talked about is our outstanding stuff. So Sheriff's Department budget. He's not anticipating any big increases, but he did want me to remind you all that last year we only funded, or this year we only funded the deputy for a part of the year because he was going to academy for that first part. So we'll likely see a bump there next in 2026 request. Fire department budget, I haven't engaged with them yet, but that is something to do soon.
Can I ask you a quick question? When we're looking at the assumptions for expenditures, are there placeholders for Sheriff's Department and Fire Department?
They're estimated at last year's at this point.
So they're in there.
They're in there, but
Yes.
yes. So like, for example, with the Chamber of Commerce, I put in the same amount that we have funded them last year, even though we do have requests for a higher amount.
Yeah, okay.
Whoa, okay, where are we going? Okay. And then there's stuff like the transfer to the refuse fund, and this is probably a much bigger conversation here on how to keep that fund sustainable. We are finally making headway in our water and sewer funds, which is a huge win and a lot because you guys made the hard decisions to go to EQRs and kind of raise those rates. But that does allow us to start our water meter project next year. Now, the utility committee has requested that we come back to them with kind of more of a project plan on the water meters to ensure that we have sustainable funding for the entire project for the next 3 years. So we are still in conversations with that, but there is a placeholder in the water budget for water meters.
And is the refuse fund transfer, is it assumed in the expenditures?
It's not yet. It's not yet, because there's a decision point there that we need to kind of talk through. And then
Oh, that just.
where did it go? Yeah. This is why I asked Val to stay late today. This one reason. And then any calculation of social security and unemployment haven't been done. That's not a huge hit typically, so we'll be okay there. But these other ones, there's, additional money potentially from the Chamber of Contract. And then we did talk about a line item for SFLC, and that leads me into what's our process for presentations to the board regarding funding requests? And when I think when we talked with the finance committee meeting, we decided not to open up a formal nonprofit request this year. And so what does that look like moving forward if nonprofits do start requesting, or partner organizations, or who are our partner organizations? I think it's up to the board to really decide those things. So that's kind of a general fund in a nutshell here. And I'm going to walk us through it line by line, and then I'll have discussion, and then we can go into each of the other funds if that works.
Sure. Mm-hmm.
And I really want you all to know what's in each of these, especially if I'm not going to be here next year, so that you kind of have that institutional knowledge I'm passing along to you all. So please ask questions if numbers aren't adding up or making sense too, because I am also double checking all of the calculations in these spreadsheets. So if something doesn't look right, I'm counting on your eyes as well. Yes, you can see that. Okay. And it's toggling right. Excellent. Okay, so majority of our income is tax, general fund sales tax. We have our property tax listed first. This number here comes from our assessor. They basically give me this number twice. They give it to me in August and they give it to me again in November, so that we can really have a dialed in number there.
Can I ask you a question? At the state level, I know the county was talking about this for their budget. Are there things happening at the state level that could cause property tax rebates to go back to property tax payers that could affect this?
I'm not versed on that, but I
But we
know that it could change.
Okay, but from the assessor right now, this is what we think. Because I know there's conversation at the county level about putting a ballot measure on.
Yeah.
And so I didn't know if those changes have gone into effect yet or not.
So this was given to me in August, so I anticipate it to change by November. It usually does.
And maybe possibly go down.
Possibly. Yeah. And then we have our specific ownership taxes. So we did the same budget as, we reduced it a little bit, anticipating next year, just because based on our 6-month actual of this year. Going into general sales tax, we had a discussion at the finance committee meeting. And what we've done here in the past has been really conservative and budget low. And then that causes a little bit of a shortfall, when we do make our funds. Now that we have healthy reserve funds going into this year, the finance committee kind of suggested that let's budget for what we're actually making. And that's reflected here in this budget. I will say I did do a sneak peek at our sales tax for July, and we are up again.
And certainly the board can have a philosophical conversation about this, but this was just kind of like, wow, we keep seeing somewhere in the 1.8 collection. So why do we keep budgeting as if we're only collecting 1.6, right? Because then you're not actually spending the funds you're collecting. So that's definitely up for board discussion, but that's kind of the rationale that went into this is, well, maybe we should budget what we're actually getting.
So those are the kind of the big ticket items on this one. Any questions on taxes in general? You'll notice the marijuana tax went down in our projections estimated. We did have 2 stores closed this year, so we weren't gonna capitalize on that 5%.
Is there only one store in town now?
Yes. Yep. All right, and then we'll go to licenses and permits. And in our financial policies, it states that any general fund fee will be raised, we'll strive to raise them 2.5%. So that applies to some of these fees, but not all of these fees. So liquor licenses, it does not apply to liquor licenses. We did see quite a bump this year in liquor licenses, and hoping that that stays true. We budgeted, hopeful, I would say, for the next year. Occupational licenses, though, while we did budget for 28,000, we're only seeing, I think we're gonna see around 16,000 is what our estimated actual is here. So we were conservative to budget for that for the next year. Lodging fees are the same. While we did budget for 73, we're anticipating it to be a little bit down from that. So we're at about 69 and budgeting for about 70 next year based on the actuals in 2023, 2024. You'll see the street impact fee is here. And we did receive 185,000 through the EPA and other projects. So we will likely see more than 5,000 next year, but I wanted to put in something as a placeholder. This doesn't affect our bottom line because it is reserved. And then building permits in town, we budgeted 55,000 this year. I estimate more based on our actuals. We're at about 63,000. I don't want to overestimate our revenue in our end of the year estimate. So we did about, for 2026, we put in about 63, exactly what we've gotten this year. And if we budget too high, because we split this line item with the county, we have to pay the county back. So I like to budget a little lower so they have to pay us back. And then vacation rental fees are a big one here. We budgeted about 30,000. We think we're going to get that, and we did it for the next year as well. That one's an easy one because it's based off the fees and the number of vacation rentals. Brownsfield grant, we have next. Oh, any questions on our license and permits? Okay. In intergovernmental, this is where we host a lot of our grants. And it's always kind of funky to try and predict what you're going to spend the next year, especially for Brownsfield. We could spend it all next year or we could spend some. The key to this is to make sure in your expenditures that it matches what you've budgeted here. Except for Brownsfield, you usually have about 40,000 that goes to our community development director and offsets their salary there. So I did include our CPW grant in 2026 and our MMOF grant for Blair Street being spent next year, as well as the DOLA IHOI grant, 62,000 for the Silverton Housing Authority director. But that might be moved. I wanted to make sure that we had a placeholder for that grant to be expended, but it might not all be from that grant. The highway user tax, this is what I didn't get in your other one. I didn't get this one, but yes. So this is estimated by the state. We get the estimate and we plug it in here. Motor vehicle registration, this one's fascinating because before 2023, they were like 5,000, 4,000, 3,000. And then since like 2022, 23, 24, we've seen about 20,000 in this line item. So not sure if we have a lot more vehicles or what's going on there, but this is the check that we get cut from us from the county. And then we do have the county shared expenses. So this is based on our IGA. And so if we go over, they owe us. If we go under, we owe them. I mean, it's the other way around. So that's in here for what we expect this year. And Willie and I haven't completed our end of the year for this year to be included in next year. So that's why that's blank at this point. Any questions on intergovernmental?
Sorry, I'm looking at mine just because it's easier. Snowmobile club reimbursement, that went down.
Yeah, so that's based on, it's like a reimbursement for how much gas they're using. So
Okay.
if they didn't groom as much,
Yeah.
they're not gonna get as much.
That was just probably like low snow year though, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Next is our planning review fees for the town. I will note that our dining permits went into our planning review fees because it's now a land use application. So that's why it's reflected. It's not, there's nothing in the dining permits. It's all down here. And then you have the administrative fees highlighted there in yellow.
And again, for those following along at home, those have decreased by $100,000.
Yes.
So again, that makes the water and sewer funds, that makes the enterprise funds better. It takes away from revenue in the general fund.
Yes.
I have a quick question. Do we not have a number for court fees?
So the court fines and fees are actually right below this. It says, oh yeah, you can see it, court revenue right there.
Oh, okay.
And we did boost up the court fines to 6,000 based on the fact that we were going to have an additional code enforcement officer next year.
Okay.
We had some big infractions in 2024. It was just one big infraction, and that's why it was reflected here. And then our other revenues, and I hate that this is called other revenues because they're facilities, parks and rec department. So I'm always working with the accountant to tweak and change names as needed, as we can. So interest revenue, we budgeted for 13,000 in 2025. Because what I've been doing is every month I take any kind of excess funds that we have. We usually spend around 300,000 a month. And so if I see that we have 500,000 in our fund, I will take it and I'll put it in a high interest. I'll take like that 200,000 difference and I'll put that in a high interest bearing. Because this year we've had our big infrastructure project go on and we're writing checks of like 500 to 700,000 waiting for reimbursements from CoBank. I have not been doing that as much because I just want to make sure we're covered in there. So this is down, and the interest is also being dispersed to all the other funds that we have. So you'll see an interest line item in sewer and water and mullis. So it did get dispersed a little bit more, and so that's why it's lower here. Showers, let's see. Community center rent. So we are at, I think we're at 48, our year-to-date actuals. This is the 6 months actual column, but we are actually higher than that. And we're anticipating more next year. As well, ski lift tickets, we always kind of budget at 40, just in case we have a low year, and then we'll go higher or lower. The cell tower lease, we do now receive 15,000 instead of 11,000 from them. They did offer to buy the property, but I said no. Just flat out no. I'd rather have 15,000 a year. Okay, and then this DOE prize, that should be in grants, honestly. So just wanted to point that out. Typically shouldn't live there. And that's about it from there. Contributions and transfers. This is a weird one now. The accountant wants us to put in the transfers out in our revenue side. So it's reflected as negative, which is fine. So what I did here, you'll see the library is here, and we transferred, traditionally we've transferred about 130, 125, 130 to the library operations, which is a huge transfer from a municipality to a library. It's really awesome that, you know, we've supported it for so long. Last year, we realized that there was an ending fund balance in the library. Given that they're fully supported by the town, they really didn't need an ending fund balance unless we'd identified some kind of capital improvements, which they do have. So that's an option for the future, is kind of creating that fund balance for them. But we did spend that down last year, and so I put them back up at the 130,000. And then our transfers to the housing authority as well. This is a little snapshot of all of our expenses, and I can go through those line item as well with you, but I wanted to definitely get any questions on our revenues from y'all. Expenses are the fun part, I know.
Sure, quick question. Will we get the code enforcement officer, they'll take care of all the parking tickets in town, or will the sheriff?
The sheriff's department will still take care of that. The goal is this code enforcement officer is going to really be focusing on more of the nuanced code that we have around town, you know, trash in yards, feeding animals. That's a big one because that's how it's funded. Any kind of refuse issues.
Okay. And also like license, like marijuana, alcohol, tobacco, will that be under the code enforcer?
No, that would be under Bevan. So yeah, so this would give him a lot more capacity. And that's to be determined as well, because that job description hasn't been written yet. And probably will be for the next administrator to write, whatever they're feeling is the need. Jumping into this is good, huh? Then I can't see my notes. Okay. Be gentle on my zooming. Is that okay? Oh, this gets too big. Can you see that okay? If you have any questions on it, just let me know and I'll zoom in. No change here so we start with the town board. No change here as far as pay, because you guys can't increase your own pay, but you could increase future boards pay. I did decrease the training to 2,000 this next year, just based on the fact that I feel like this board is starting to be trained up. But you all can advocate for other as needed. We do have a membership in here. That's your CML membership. And your citizen engagement. Oh, and then we'll go to community contributions here. We have, and so I put the estimated actual based on the $40,000 to SFLC and the $15,000 to the San Juan Development Association. That's reflected now in our 2025 actuals.
And San Juan Development was for the sign.
That was for the sign, yep. And so this is one that I did want to maybe pause and have a quick conversation about. Is we did say we are not going to be issuing the nonprofit requests this year, but I am still getting requests. So how do I navigate those requests? And right now it's, I did the SFLC to the entire board. And what you all did was you decided to fund it at that point, and then you also kicked it to the committee to work out some more details on what the future looks like for funding. I thought that was a really good way to do it. But I also want to be mindful that we have used the committees in the past to vet some stuff. Also, not wanting those committees to be gatekeepers. You know, I do want the entire board to hear a lot of the requests that come through and then potentially kick it to the committees. But I wanted to have that conversation with you all on that direction.
I mean, with your projections, do we have room for some of these nonprofits that we funded in the past, or?
That depends on your priorities. So right now you saw it's balanced. We will have an ending fund balance that is more. in your financial policies, it does state that you would spend that either on capital or on community contributions. So that's really based on you all.
Go ahead. We're gonna ask you what your conversation was in the finance committee. Just, so I think what I heard was not opening that.
Well, I think that, I think the challenge through 4 seasons of this, you guys have been 6, 7, I don't know. The challenge we have every time is like a couple levels. One, who do we find as what, right? You could take something like the chamber and say, well, the visitor center, you contract out with the chamber to do that. The visitor center is a town building, so that's a contract. That's like staff, right, that are part of the town. So that's not really a partner. That's like, we're just contracting out instead of having it in-house. We could talk about MOLIS, right? We have our MOLIS contract. So funding requests that change from the MOLIS contract. How do we think about that? But then you started getting into these organizations that can be different, because you could argue that, well, a San Juan Development Association is an extension of municipal government, or is it a partner to municipal government? Creative District, are they extension, are they a partner? You know, events that happen, keystone events that happen, well, is it the role of government to fund those versus something else? We have like capital improvement stuff on our list. We haven't historically put aside any money towards capital. We have deferred maintenance for, right? And then you could say, well, like Silverton Single Tax Society is building a new park for the town. How do we think about that? How do we think about 4th of July and ski touring? Other partners that come to us, SFLC. And I bet if you like surveyed the community and said, okay, the doors to SFLC are closing tomorrow. Do you want us to fund that? Or do you want us to put a new refund? Lots of people in the community might say, well, can the county go another year? And we say, yeah. And they say, okay, we'll fund the SFLC. So the challenge the boards have always had is it is a philosophy and values discussion. And kind of a definition discussion of like which things are which, so which should get funded. So I've gotten these requests in my email, Glory's gotten these requests. We talked about one today at the finance committee. I think my suggestion that I would love the board to kind of talk about is, do we have a couple things that we want to define specifically? Like, okay, the chamber visitor center contract is an extension of town. I'll just say, yep, we think that's true. So we're going to fund them at X level or something, in the same way that we would like consider other departments in town. And then there's this whole other list of things that, depending on if we have excess funding or not, we rank, prioritize, or decide what's important to us. And that's why there's 7 people in sport. That's why we have different kind of value judgments. So at this point, there hasn't really been a decision on reopening up nonprofit requests, because the problem too is that all these things are a little bit different. In the past, we did like nonprofit requests, which were kind of like mini grants, right? And we had anything from $1,500 to $10,000 to everything. We've also had like event requests. We've also had like partner organizations. Like in the past, we did fund San Juan Development Association. Last year we didn't. So I think it's kind of really this collective body's opinions on how do we want to move forward, knowing that during budget season and into the future, Glory gets his requests, the board's going to get the requests. Should they go to committees? Should they come before the board and then the board prioritizes? Does it only happen once a year?
And we were here. I think the decision that we should make, well, it's my opinion that if we should decide whether or not we want to fund other things, and then if we do, I think that we should go back to the same way we did it before, which was once a year. You do it like miniature grants. That way there's deadlines, and then if people don't turn stuff in, it just makes it easier. Then it makes it easier to judge against each other. You all get them at once. You're not trying to be like, well, can we dole out $10,000 in June, and then somebody now needs money in October? Well, it's too hard to do it piecemeal. So if we're gonna do it, I think we should do it that way. And then you can sort of put them all next to each other and judge them and rank them. But I guess we should discuss whether or not we want that. But if we do, I think that would be probably the easiest way.
I'd like to consider it. We're in a better place this year than last year, and if we can forward to give some money to some of our organizations, nonprofits, Silverton Family Learning Center, the district, I would be for hearing them out.
Mhm.
About the process Tyler's speaking of.
One of the things I was thinking about is like we're in this place this year because we didn't cut a lot of that. It was really hard and terrible. And I get the emails too. I think what I'm wondering is like, is there a way, how we budget this, where if at the end of the year, we have a predetermined amount of budget left, that's when we open up potential requests, but only if we have that, not like necessarily budgeting it in. So we'll say like working in the nonprofit side, it is like, oh, when you get that government support letter, or like money in, it means so much to other funders. So like, even if we gave a small amount, like a smaller amount than what we typically give, that matters for matching, you know?
We do it at the end of the year, how do they budget?
I know, that was like my question. I was trying to ask some of the other nonprofits, it was what their budget cycle is. Like ours is at the end of the year, so like that would work for us. I don't know, like what.
You could be slightly off cycle, right? Like last year we said nothing. Yeah, no, and that was hard and easy. It was hard because we had trouble saying no to everybody, but it was also easy because we said no to everybody. And so, I've been talking about this a lot of like, well, is it a philosophy? Like we said, like what you're saying, okay, we have, if there's a surplus, we dedicate X% to our capital improvement plan, we dedicate X% to partner funding. If there's a surplus. And then that depends on what it is. It's not stable and predictable for those partners. Maybe they shouldn't expect town government revenue to be a stable and predictable. That's a source. So.
That could be done, because we do have to do an estimate at the end of the year and where we'll be. We typically estimate a little higher, so you might have a little bit more funds, but it could be done, is what I'm saying.
I'm just having an idea.
Are we, is it gonna be possible this, like, I guess we should think about. Is FSLC gonna be included in those asks? Or is that something that exactly, and then do we want to?
What?
Do we want to fund them as a line item and then they're gonna be money left because we decided to fund them and?
We heard from them on what, because like that's what I was trying to ask, like, what are you asking for in the future?
So they're scheduled to present to the October 7th. 20th, sorry.
In my opinion, I feel like a school is more of a government service than like, I hate to say it, a concert is, you know? That would be my priority, but.
I guess that'd be a question is like, who are the others? And then who are the others? You know, that would be asking for a request.
Well, and maybe what we should do, Gloria, is ranking can be super effective, right? Because we might all define it differently. And that's why I keep saying, to one level, this is like a political philosophy question, but on another level, it's also just your values, right? Like in a community and the people you represent and like who you hear from and what you think about the community, it's kind of a values. And so maybe what we need is kind of each trustee anonymously ranking. These are the partners I think we have. And maybe rank them in order. And it can be anonymous, like we could do this in a way that feels good to everybody. And these are the like things, whether it's certain events, certain one-off requests, certain kind of Jim's called them feel good projects before. This is how I would rank those.
What if we did criteria and not individual types? So it could be like revenue generating for the town, right? Like increases tax base or provides an essential function or something like that.
The number one thing on the community needs assessment, like affordable housing.
Totally. Yeah, like what is
Is identified in the master plan.
I think it's a name more of like a rubric that could be graded on. That would make it less personal of who we got coffee with last week, you know?
We've been talking about a rubric for how many cycles too, right? Like that's what we're saying, right, Tyler? You're like, we do this, so we go evaluate grants or get evaluated. To me, a sticking point too is for the board. Think about our budget, we fund our like essentials first, right? And I think the board needs to say, well, is the visitor center an essential? And is,
Silverton housing.
Silverton
At that point,
an essentials or
we
not?
put so much into, for me, I would say we put so much into it and we're in the middle of projects right now, that would be essential,
Yeah.
just as it, for instance.
Yeah.
And it came up so far in the survey.
Right. So there's, to me, there seems like a couple entities that you kind of have to decide, is this a government funded entity? And even though they're not housed in here, you know, we love to hear from Deanne every year. And feels very, like the housing authority feels very integrated. I mean, we're the board.
Yeah.
But it feels like there's a couple things where Gloria's getting requests and kind of having to say, well, what do you guys want to do with this? And how should they come before the board or to a committee?
I mean, I don't know how we, like, I think if we were to move forward, doing some sort of like grant application process would be pretty essential to that, to understand like financial solvency, like a sustainability plan, like grading on a criteria, because like it's super easy to be like the children and feel really emotional. Like taking that out of it would probably be
A useful tool.
Yeah.
Yeah. And thoughts from last season, right? We have good financial guidelines, like we're much farther along in this process. We have financial guidelines that talk about kind of our philosophy. So we're really kind of talking about extra. So I don't know, Ron, Jim, Carl, thoughts on moving forward or like the philosophy and where we go? Jim?
When we had our retreat at Amusa Park upstairs, there was 2 dry erase boards that had over 54 items that were deferred maintenance on town buildings. And I think only 3 of them have been completed since then. We talk about entertainment, we talk about funding all these feel-good projects, like I like to call them, when we have to walk past a bucket in our hallway because our own roof at town hall leaks. We have deferred maintenance on the side of this building that needs to be painted for 10 years at least. I see these as town priorities, and I might be the only one. And I saw her, this goes back to Sarah Ferdine. I saw her list and her priority list, and that to me is a no-brainer. These things actually need to get done because it's the function of the town to make sure these things are functional. How can we take pride in our town if our own building is falling apart? We got holes in the ceiling and side of it's not even painted, like an old rusted car. Well, I'm being dramatic,
Yeah.
but I'm also trying to paint a picture that how can we sit here and fund all these other things when we haven't really even funded ourselves?
Also, if the roof got worse and fell in, then you couldn't perform the essential function.
Yes, I mean, this is the job. And if we have this,
Take it to the.
if we have this money for our line items, then we should be funding the things that the town is supposed to be doing.
And there's no one here, the building doesn't stand here and plead its case to us. We have a capital improvement plan. It's multi-million, it's millions of dollars in the capital improvement plan. So I want to hear from you, Jim, is saying, we need to fund our capital improvement plan. The surplus should go to.
Capital improvement plan is everything from this building to Kendall Mountain to whatever, but it's town function first. I mean, there's still potholes all over the friggin' streets. I mean, this is my first mindset. And I think I said it this morning, and I think I said it on the phone earlier. We have embarked on the ultimate journey, I think, for this board and the previous board, which is affordable housing. We're not going to have affordable housing if we don't have infrastructure. We need infrastructure, we need affordable housing because they go hand in hand. And if we're not investing in this because we want to invest in other things, we just set ourselves back how many months, how many years, because we're not doing the essential things that need to get done. That's just me.
Thanks.
And again, I may be a little bit hardcore or dramatic, and I like a good concert as much as everybody, and I have two kids and they needed to be watched at one point in time, but we need houses for families to have those children, to be able to put into the family learning center. And if we don't have these essential items first and foremost, which is the definition of government, then how are we going to get there?
Thanks, Jim.
Thank you.
Great. Yeah. Other opinions, Ron?
I got to agree with Jim. I mean, Kendall Rec Center needs a bad dose of stain. And if we're going to keep renting that out, charging people what we do, that needs to be our shining star, and it's not.
So deferred maintenance, capital improvements like that.
Maintenance is premium on our list.
It's easy to kick that can down the road, for sure. Yeah. Other thoughts? Carl, what do you
I've
think?
just been nodding along with everything that's said. I mean, I think it's really, Jim, I'm glad that you're being dramatic because it's important, you know, like that's a framing that needs voice because as you said, like the building's not coming up in front of us and, you know, saying, oh, I'm gonna fall down in 5 years, please help me. I mean, I think that's kind of funny, but it's true. Like that's our role is to be the voice for those things. And we have other people coming in and community members that advocate for their needs and requests. I definitely like the, you know, surplus small grants approach. I think we have to have that door open because there are some really important things that happen in our community. But I do think that we should think about it as a surplus. And I think that surplus should be calculated after we've considered the really important deferred maintenance. Because that's,
I used to.
yeah, I mean, I just sent an email to.
Leak in the ceiling was to water that tree. Then I realized the tree's in the wrong place. I just like bucket there.
Right. I just, you know, we were talking about the town administrator hiring. I just sent, you know, my email response to those folks. And that was one of the things on my list. That's really important is, you know, not just doing it, but taking the time to prioritize that deferred maintenance. And I think that's part of why it feels, well, and as you said, it's easier just to be like, no, later.
I think
That's the easy way to do it.
one of the reasons I think, because we've put supporting some of these small nonprofits in front of some of the deferred maintenance before also, because I think we would look at the price for a new roof on Kendall. Say, well, we're not going to fund that this year. $140,000 we can't fund, but we do have $25,000 that we can give to these small organizations that can then maybe keep them afloat, maybe bring, you know, oftentimes the argument would be, well, it's going to bring people in for whatever it was, or, you know, and so I guess at a certain point, it's like, well, how are we going to decide which deferred maintenance to do also? Because we're still going to need to figure out how to fund some of these larger projects. And then if we are, you know, are we going to use all of that to do? Because I think we could spend any surplus we have.
Right.
On deferred maintenance.
Yes, you see the capital?
So
It's a lot of money. Yeah.
it's a lot, it's big. And so I guess do you want to put it all towards that and still maybe not be able to do some of these larger projects, or?
You're arguing for kind of some, you know, you could go back to a point where you say, okay, surplus, we put X percentage, or each year we prioritize X project. You know, you could do a kind of project based, et cetera. So yeah, were you gonna say, yeah?
Yeah, I now that I don't have a camera that doesn't work like this morning, you guys have to see my face. And I'm gonna pick on Baker's Park in a good way. 5 years ago, they came to us, and I think it's 5 years ago, maybe 4. And said, we need help, we need a cash infusion to get up off the ground. The town was there to do it. Now they have, what, $1 million over there? They're sitting on a pile of money on the side of that mountain. But we did our little part in helping them get off the ground. And I am very encouraged by projects like that. And when the Learning Center, preschool, thank you, when they came to us the other night, I was never adverse to saying no to that, but I did feel that maybe looking at what everyone else gave and the condition of the organization, I think there are certain criteria that need to be met, or at least endeavored into looking into, before just blindly saying absolutely, absolutely, absolutely. And I feel like in the past, obviously not recently, but in the past, going back 5, 6 years, the board was saying yes to everything. We said yes to everything, and those were good times. They were all fat and happy. We got to say yes to everybody. And I think now really looking at, and I go back to those two dry erase boards, what it is and what it is we have on our plate and what we need to pay down in order to get some of these things done. But what is the true function of government? And helping out is a way we can give back. But funding things completely, I think, is.
And again, having it be a reliable,
And, yeah.
it's tricky.
Yeah.
I mean, any grant making foundation does not want to be the majority funder of
Yeah.
any project. So you have to figure out a way to balance, which is why, like maybe there's something in there that's like, there are projects that we have funded that do generate revenue for the town too. So it's like a little bit cyclical of like bikers, like the mountain bikers and money to spend, so like that's helpful. I don't know how to like percentage that out, but like maybe it's setting up just more around what does it actually bring in?
Right. And I will say the hardest thing for this board, like Monday night, goes to exactly what you said about saying yes. You want to say yes to everyone there, the person you just had coffee with. And then coming back and saying, well, maybe we can't do that because we really need to fix this hole in the roof. That's not watering the plant.
And at the end of the day, that's our job. As hard as it is, that's why we sit on this board. And that's why like Gloria can't tease out the request like that. That's I think why there's one argument for these kinds of requests to come to the board. But I also think what I hear is that we're kind of asking for more tools to help us differentiate and make those decisions. And this is one tool. This is a tool. We came up with this, to your point, like this was our priority list, right? And as I was looking on here, I was like, okay. The tricky, like deferred maintenance, perimeter trail, financial support for projects and staff.
We're on the parameter trail.
We're working on.
Parameter to it.
And I think like, what we need and what we're doing right now is to come up with a process that's more or less agnostic to the actual things it's funding. Like the process is more about how do we make the decision?
Yeah.
Instead of making the decisions right now because, we don't have a structure for it yet.
Right. And there's still gonna be one else. We're gonna get the sign request that says, hey, this has been a project on the list for a long time that we never could get across the finish line. Are we gonna put $15,000 to it or not? Well, does a sign bring in a lot of revenue to town? That's a tenuous argument.
Is it kind of the town's function to say who we are? And to Carl's point, I mean, we have put up guardrail, the guidelines for ourselves over the years. And we've looked at them as more as suggestions
Yeah.
instead of
Yeah.
really hardcore, these are the lines, this is how we're gonna do it. And we're like,
Here you are.
oh, okay. And one of the greatest things that I saw this year, when we made that tough decision saying no, and I'm not advocating for no, I'm just saying one of the things I saw was that these organizations that came to us year over year over year, they went out and they hit the streets. They went out and raised money. They went and became dynamic grant writers and found all this cash. And now they're back because we're like, hey.
Well,
I think there might be fewer grants. Or at least the grants they're gonna be way more competitive.
And I will make the argument that having like even just a small dollar amount from like your local government just provides that like letter. It looks good. It's really totally. Yeah. Well, I don't think we funded groups for a lot. And then, well, you know, even having a little bit is helpful.
Yeah.
For funders to see, okay, it's not just me, their local government is supportive, they're not gonna put up roadblocks, like, that does matter.
Yeah. I think what we saw happen before,
Much does they feel good?
I think what we saw before is like my first year of budgeting, it was 20,000. And then the next year it was 40,000. And then the next year it was 60,000. And so there was this sort of ballooning and it's like, whoa, wait a minute, we're almost away to a staff salary at that point, right? So it seems like we need some parameters. Okay, so.
Which again, when high tides do raise all ships, and I truly live by that philosophy. And when we have it, there's nothing wrong with doing that. But we actually have to stick to the guidelines and not just suggestion.
Yep. So, okay, so I want to help us move forward because we're not going to come up with our philosophy today. But I do think we need the board to work on this issue. And so we have our financial guidelines, which last year really helped inform us passing a budget that got us to better reserves. So check, congratulations, great job. Like our bank account is better than we thought it was going to be. Gloria is also walking us through a budget that's kind of largely balanced, and we're gonna have to have conversations around, okay, the nuance here within this framework of what's the function of government. And that probably includes the visitor center contract and MOLIS and like services we contract out for specific things. And then I think the board needs to have, there's kind of a twofold conversation. One is, okay, if there's a surplus, which it looks like there is from last year, how do we want to think about the surplus? And then two, kind of going forward, what's the timing for these conversations? What's the process for these requests to be made? Who gets to make a request? For what amount? And how does that also relate to some of our other priorities and capital improvement? Because again, I look at this and I say, well, perimeters trails on here. Why are we not talking about, well, maybe we should put $25,000 more in perimeter trail? Because we used to say every year for a couple of years on the board, 2 years, we put $25 a year towards the perimeter trail. Well, it's on our priority list, but we're not talking about funding it more than the $50,000 that's in there. And then, you know, adopt a capital improvements plan. That's on here, but we're nowhere in our conversation are we saying, or in our budget are we saying, well, we want to put X percentage towards our capital improvements plan. So it seems like we're starting from line item, which is a great place to start. And then we need a prioritization conversation around how much do we want for capital improvements? How much do we want to spend on identified projects and or staff? And how much do we want to spend on partners, I'll call them, right? Partners could be events, it could be extra things. And maybe the value conversation is not in like ranking the entities. Maybe the value conversation is, what do you think is most important there? Between capital improvements, between deferred maintenance, between partner requests that could fit any of this for, I don't know, just what, between economic development, I don't know.
Is there any difference between? I feel like there's almost different, like maybe two distinct categories of partners too. People that we have funded every year for decades that almost, if not rely on us, expect like the chamber. That's, you know, and then the other buckets, which is, you know, the fun things.
Which goes back to what Lindsay was saying in your rubric.
Yeah.
I love our rubric. Go ahead.
I think there's one more thing I was thinking about this with like the waiting for reserves to figure this out, is there's like an incentive for our partner organizations to help us increase like overall year to year, right? Like you want to get some, help us like raise this money. It's like a collective effort.
You mean like help contribute to our revenue?
Yeah, like if you're gonna host a concert, really try to help, let's get people to restaurants, you know, like whatever that is. So I think there's like a kind of like a mutual, like help us help you.
Right.
Kind of conversation.
Like if that revenue is better, there's more money to share around.
For the ones that can generate, can help generate.
And I thought that was, sorry, can I just interject here for one?
Sorry. Opinions. It's all for a while.
Because I could.
Driving a long distance?
I can. I can kind of synthesize some of the stuff that you guys have said and provide recommendations going forward. And then you guys can kind of give feedback on those recommendations. That's one option to do. Just so that it's a little bit more streamlined. And we do have another work session tentatively on the books, but not yet, for November 3rd, I believe it is. And that would be another opportunity to kind of have those deep dives. But I did like your idea of maybe a poll with you all on kind of what, maybe I identify who I think that our partners are, and then gut check it with you and say, yes, is that right? And then I say, oh yeah, the majority of the board says, yes, this is our partner. Because that's something I've always tried to get from you all. And I kind of like the idea of a poll, so you didn't have to be so public with that. And then I could say, yes, the majority is in agreement on this or not. And then the idea of like potentially carving out a maybe 10% or 5% of the excess revenues towards the nonprofits. You guys are giggling over there.
On this side of the classroom.
We're gonna change the name cards, guys.
We look at that, but I also want to put into your heads with the deferred maintenance and all of that is our affordable housing and the momentum that we've put towards that. And finding out that we can't divert any money from Mullis like we had maybe thought. And what's the sustainability of that? And the idea that came to me the other night is, can we put, half of the salary for our director into next year's budget, knowing she's fully funded, but then you're saving, and then the next year you only have to put the other half in. So just trying to be thinking about that going forward. So there are some ideas that I would love to run by you all on how that looks, but also have that priority conversation. So I don't want to jump the gun and say this is how it should be, but I do want to give you guys a little bit of direction on what I think from your conversations you might be in agreement on.
But I think our priorities. I mean, they're right here. But in the sport, we've had so much momentum. And so for you to be able to say, well, if you don't partly fund this, you could lose your momentum here. Thankfully with this board, the characteristics I really value is there's a ton of thoughtfulness and there's a lot of alignment about priorities. We might get to it different ways, but there's a lot of alignment. Yeah.
Are we allowed to bring up Mullis in that conversation this morning?
Sure. Yeah, we're talking about budget. This is a work session.
Is everyone aware of that?
No, not yet.
Oh.
No, but you can.
No, because I know I'll mess it up somehow.
We're looking for a sustainable revenue source for affordable housing.
We said in the meeting.
Right, sorry.
Committee looked at a variety of different options, become multi-jurisdictional. There are a whole bunch of different ideas. How could we have a revenue source that would support this? And the most promising idea was Mullis as a town asset generates more revenue than it probably needs, right? We would never want to raid that fund so that it doesn't have money for deferred maintenance or whatever.
When technically we can't because of the
And we can't.
way it's written when it was deeded over to us in 1920, 1910.
And there's no statute of limitations on.
Well,
So you want to honor the gift though, too.
if
because
we
it
do
was-
anything to upset the actual transfer, it
It would-
goes back to the federal government.
Exactly.
Oh, boy.
Oh, yeah.
We don't want that to happen.
Yeah.
This is not.
Two things we gotta fight.
But I was gonna speak specifically because this will hit the
Oh,
budget
yeah,
specifically
yeah.
to the contract.
yeah, go, yeah.
And to the request for.
I kind of think that request should come from the requester. I think we should,
Yeah,
Yeah.
but I see this as, because this is gonna be, regardless, I think we're gonna see, this hit our overall budget.
we have two contracted services, right? Which I would argue are not quite partners, because we contract with the chamber for the visitor center, we contract with Genscope for operating Mullis, right? And it'd be like if we had an operator that operated Kendall or something. And so we didn't get the budget in time from the chamber. Or from our contractor at Mullis to include in this discussion, but there's, but last year we underfunded the visitor center from what we had done in the past. And there's possibilities that the contract for Mullis could go up, or, there's those options. So again, it's kind of like Gloria gets these requests, and how does the board want to hear those requests?
And I like the survey idea. Oh, I like the survey idea. And then I think there needs to be like, if we do like a why, I think that can help develop the rubric, right? Like if we all kind of have a consensus on like why we think certain partners are priorityed in a certain way, then that can help form of like, is it because they're a C3, or like, is it because they provide a service, or is it because they bring in revenue, or whatever it is,
I can work on that on this end and bring you back those results. So I would put out the survey probably at the end of this week or something. I want to give it some thought, but knowing just the schedule that I have coming up is hard.
Yeah, it makes it
Um,
quick and easy.
Yeah, and then bring that all back to you on the 3rd, November 3rd. In the meantime, as I get these requests, would you like them to go to the finance committee first, or would you like them to go to the board first?
Non-members of the finance committee. I mean, to start, I guess. No offense.
No,
Like-
please.
for us to make a decision about funding them.
Yes.
I don't think we need to, I guess from what I'm hearing, it's kind of sounds like for next year, we want to like figure out a process before we say yes or no. Like, I would almost advocate that they hold requests.
So, but
I like-
for a good, for instance,
Yeah.
is the learning center, which
Yeah.
came in front of us
It's true.
last meeting and it didn't come in front of the finance committee.
Yeah.
So if it was something that was like, oh, I didn't think about that. And then how do you know, like, okay, I didn't think about it, but it's really important. Do you want it to come to the finance committee first or to the board first, or just not see them at all?
I'm a process person, so like, I don't like to make decisions on something without like having an agreed. But that's just.
I also suspect like the finance committee, I was stepping back to kind of think about the purpose of committees, right? So what I've seen this board do really effectively is something kind of bubbles to the top that either staff hears about or a community member is kind of like at their last resort with an answer they've gotten from staff, or there's been something that's come up and be like, man, we keep getting the same issue. We should take that to the board, or people are given the option to like, well, if you don't like that answer, you can always go to your board of trustees. And then what I've seen this board do effectively is listen to that and then kind of make a determination to work out the nuance at the committee level. And that I think has worked pretty well. An ordinance comes up or something, as we saw this with RV, it could happen with noise. We might talk about with signs. We've seen it with land use code stuff, kind of, or EQRs, like you kind of, some things get workshopped in the committee and then bubble up. Some things come to the town and then go back down. And the thing I worry about budget requests is different than policies or ordinances is, to Gloria's point, there's a little bit where I'm not sure the finance committee is like, should be a gatekeeper of spending money without the whole board hearing that. When it comes to a policy decision, that sometimes feels a little bit different, but in terms of like spending the funds.
Yeah.
I mean, finance committee is like workshopped guidelines, or like we'll be the first ones to kind of get the compensation, but the compensation stuff came before the board first to say, yeah, we should do this. Hey, finance committee, you guys are in the weeds on this, figure it out. But when it comes to like a contractor coming to us and saying, we want to renegotiate our contract for a different amount, that would eventually need to come before the whole board anyways. So it sort of feels like a extra step in the process.
I mean, I would like
No.
requests to come to the board itself, especially like with Tyler's idea as well, perhaps all at once with an application process. So we're all deciding together, just so like some requests we see, some we don't see. It just feels,
But then what level of request rises to the full board? So, because there can be some that are just sort of out there that you've never expected, and it's, wait, you want us to help fund what? And then there's other ones that are really, I think we could all agree might be very important, and then specifically
specifically all nonprofit requests, I'd
we could get a lot of nonprofit requests, I think, is the
Yeah.
just.
What's the timeline we're talking about here? Like between now and December?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, how many requests do you guys usually see, a year, you'd say?
I think the last time we did one, we did 12 to 15.
12 to 15.
And we had a process for that before, so the nonprofit.
Yeah.
Well,
It wasn't a subcommittee, we got.
Absolutely was.
Recommendations.
Everything came
Yeah.
through. We went through one by
well,
one.
again, that's the sticking.
Recommendations.
The sticking point for me is like, I don't think we should take nonprofit requests one at a time and bring them up to the board. Absolutely not. But then also, there is like an emergency funding request, and then how do we just allow Gloria to make the decision what's important enough to bring to the board for an emergency funding request for a nonprofit, or are none of them emergencies anymore? And then we see them all at once.
I guess like I think we hear from nonprofits between now and the end of the year because this is when we do budgeting and they expect to have to make this request. I think what I'm saying is, I don't think we're in a place of like necessarily agreeing
We're
that.
not ready there. We're not.
Yeah.
Which is why I'd like to kind of think about this from a slow down perspective. These are not us contemplating requests for next year's budget. This is us contemplating requests for potentially spending excess from last year. Now, it just kind of happens to be the same time of year. But to me, I kind of feel like we have to disentangle our budgeting process with the extra requests we get. Because to me, I first want to see Gloria's budget, which we haven't gotten through all the way, by the way. We'll get
I don't know if we will tonight.
I want to see the staff and Gloria's budget priorities. To me, that's kind of how you start first. And then we look at, well, what are the trustee priorities? What's on our capital? This is just a suggestion, like, then what's on our capital improvements plan? What's on our trustee priorities? That have to be funded in next year's budget. And some of that could be like right now, we don't have any capital improvement stuff in there. But we might have some surplus we'd want to spend on that. So we're always doing this twofold thing of, well, what's our potential surplus from last year that can go into next year's budget? And also, what are our revenue projections for next year that can support our overall priorities and expenses? And so what if process-wise, we start with line item budgeting like we're doing? We entertain some of the staff requests. And then like the additional things are looked at in the context of the surplus according to kind of certain boundaries. We say every year if there's a surplus, we want to spend X percentage on deferred maintenance or capital improvements. And then every year if there's a surplus, we want to spend X percentage on these extra requests. And now here are the parameters for those extra requests. And every year we want to set aside a certain percentage for emergency funding. That has happened every single year, that there've been these kind of one-off things that it's unrealistic to expect all of our needs in our community to be predictable. And things happen like SFLC or a sign we want to fund, or this great grant opportunity that comes to one of our wonderful nonprofits that they say, if we could just get $10,000, we could get $1 million, whatever. So to me, it still seems like maybe we step back and say, how we budget for next year is this way, and then how we budget for any surplus is this way.
That approach makes sense to me. I wonder what you and the rest of the board think, like 30% of our surplus for these nonprofit, like what would be the ballpark that you would consider?
And
5%, 50%, like, 10%?
I think we'll get a recommendation.
Well, also, but what's the surplus?
I mean, we can look at what we've done in the past, but that's not really the way to approach this
Well, I
process.
think it would also,
Right.
I think it might have to depend on how much the surplus is.
Right.
I mean,
Well, we want a range, right? We
Right.
want to set ourselves a guideline that's a pretty big range. And we want to
also,
aim
if the
towards consistency.
if 10%, say, we throw out 10% is what we want to give towards nonprofits, and 10% of our surplus is $1,000.
Right.
Then it's like, we'll see you next year. We'll see you next. I mean, yeah.
All right, I do want to get us on track
Okay.
a little bit. I love these discussions and I've gotten a lot out of it. So what I'm hearing right now is no presentations from nonprofits at this time for funding requests until we kind of have a much bigger discussion on this. Is that correct? Okay.
I'm not willing to open it up, but I would push the board on, do we think of the visitor center contract and MOLIS differently? Or do you fit that in
They're
that?
quasi-governmental agencies.
I mean, we own Moelis, so we.
So
And the
they,
visitor center is a government building.
it is, so they have both requested to present to us, so. Yes,
And Sarah Moore did all the work she's doing. Absolutely.
well, there you go. Okay, so San Juan Development Association, an extension of government.
Why?
Technically it is.
Funding.
Well, so MOLIS, we contract out a service and that contractor wants to present to the board
Mhm.
for contract negotiations. Visitor Center, we funded them less than we had previously. I think they'd want to present to us to say, we'd probably like to be funded at the level we were in the past. So this, again, this is the sticking point. How do you think about those entities and their opportunity to be heard by the board?
And can I do that in the survey too, though?
Yeah.
Okay.
Like, why don't I send that out in the survey?
That comes back to the definition.
Right, and that's what,
30 minutes ago.
that's what we nailed down in the survey is that
So
definition.
could you say, who do you consider our contractors? Who do you consider our partners? Yeah. I mean, we went out to, yeah. Great.
Cool. Sorry to derail you guys, but this is definitely one of the biggest sticking points for me in the budget and trying to get clear direction on moving.
I've gotten emails about it, so.
Yeah.
I appreciate it.
I bet everyone has gotten some kind of feedback on it. Okay, so I will not do any presentations unless it's Mullis or the Visitors Center. Those two seem to be agreed upon right away.
Yeah.
And then I will send out the survey.
What about the economic district?
Or like,
Whatever.
like the fire department, would that be even, would that wait too, or? Sure.
Or the sheriff's office? I mean,
Yeah.
Those are all contracted events.
Maybe just nonprofit and like non-government.
Yeah. I will try and walk that line for you. And if I go off that line, please let me know.
It's quasi-governmental. That's really what it comes down to.
Or being contracted.
And then I will send out the survey to you all, and we'll have that prioritization discussion on November 3rd. Does that sound like a plan?
Mhm.
Okay. All right. So in partner organizations, we have Region 9 in here and San Juan County, San Juan Regional Planning Commission in there. So that's $500 for them and about $1,600 for the regional, Region 9. Could be talked about on partner organizations.
And that's the planning commission?
Yes.
And we'll only fund if those meetings are short.
I will get back to them on
Printing costs.
fair.
And scribe, but.
Um,
Thank you for everyone else.
This is a little different than before. Now we have regular employees and that includes for administration. So that includes the town administrator, the town clerk, and the deputy clerk in this line item. As you can see, I've had it the same, although there is a request to increase the town clerk's pay. So this is the same as was budgeted before. I did anticipate us to be a little over this year, given my departure and the recent salary increase.
Question 2, do all the salaries assume a COLA raise?
No, none of them assume a COLA raise at this point. So that is something for consideration as well. Most municipalities right now are doing 2.5%. In our estimated actuals, I also included $30,000 for professional services. That is the recruiting service that we talked about. So that is in here as well. You'll see our health and life insurance went up significantly, from what we budgeted. And typically we do about $1,000, per department for training. So that's why you'll see 2,000 there, and, the workers' compensation, you'll see that this was budgeted, but we're not actually spending any in this fund because it's coming out of general government services, because it's all coming out of a CERSA line item. So you'll see this reoccurring, that it's not actually coming out. And then training's in there as well. I did boost the training up, anticipating a new administrator, and any kind of training they might want or need. We go down here. A lot of these are pretty set costs, going forward. The one thing where we are, oh yeah, so the year to date, this is the insurance that I was talking about, the workers' comp insurance. I had separated it out in the 2025 budget to come out of each department, but it's all being put in here right now. So I think that's just easier, so we'll just keep it there.
And let's see, the engineering, do we feel good about that number with like, if you have it in the water and sewer memo, if we do our development standards or with a variety of our infrastructure projects?
That's budgeted in water and sewer accounts.
Yep. And like, if they're involved in our conversations around, water treatment plant.
That would be in water and sewer, yeah. The only thing that would come out of here if we were to have those bigger conversations is if we started like the stormwater drainage plan or something like that. What I did here too, I want to show you, is software. So in efforts to try and meet some of our communications guidelines and stuff like that, we have some more software that we would like to purchase next year. So I did write it into this. It was under $10,000 increase, so I just wrote it in.
Oh, and that's
Like accessibility?
Yeah, so that's our monostat, what is it called? That is our website that makes it accessible, as well as the accessible reading of all of our PDFs. And there's also some programs that will help us with our process internally that we can then synthesize externally. I think that's the best way to say it.
And it's not like we have much of a choice about doing these things, right? Like,
Oh, the accessibility, we don't.
Yeah.
So we definitely had to go on that route. Everything else is pretty similar, to the previous year. Grants we went way down. Not sure why that, okay. So grants, I did, make sure that we had, if we budgeted for the revenue, we have an expenditure line item here. And next year, we just have these two grants, and because I put the 21,000 for the code enforcement officer in, community development, and I'll show you that in a minute. So this is what we budgeted in, 2025, about 229, our estimated actual, and this is just for administration. Our estimated actual is going to be about 220. And next year it's looking at about 360. That's with that increased grant here for 260,000. All right. Oh, any questions on administration? Okay. We will go to community development, and it doesn't keep the Zoom. There we go. So let's go back up to the top. Okay, community development. This is one area where I'm requesting an increase. But I do want to note that for regular employees, community development does include our housing authority director as well as our community development director. And pretty standard on all of those still. One thing I do want to point out is when we were using our contracted, planners, we were spending around 260,000. You'll see it's 185, but that's with the housing authority director in there. So we are saving a ton of money by not using our planning services.
And when you're saying the housing director, is in there, that's funded at the amount that's not covered by the grant, or that's doing your suggestion?
That's with the grant. So the grant covers just the, salary and we cover the benefits.
It doesn't include your suggested idea.
Oh, correct. Right. And then building and code enforcement officer. So this is regular employees. And then you'll see that 21,000 for the CPW grant there. All of these do have the added 4% retirement. And
TV.
disappear that for real quick. So you'll see we budgeted last year about 114,000 for building and code, and next year we're looking at about 124,000, and that's adding that $21,000 position as well as the increase in health. So that's our overall for next year in community development. Any questions on that one? This is different than last year as far as how it's organized. So now we have public safety here. I actually have learned not to ask your accountant to build out your budget because it doesn't always make sense. So I'd rather build it first and then have them deal with what I put in.
Good criteria.
Yeah. Municipal court here, no changes anticipated. That doesn't include any kind of COLA. All these do not include COLA at this time. Contracted services, I did bump this up to 400,000 as a placeholder because of that deputy position that wasn't fully funded this year. We will get the final number. I just wanted to be trying to figure that out. I have not updated the fire departments yet, so this is the same amount that they requested last year. Moving on to public works. Oh, I will point out that legal is now in administration. So it's just in the general government now, line items for administration. So it's a little different than it used to just be broken out.
That'll still be the same, even if we go back to contract.
Yeah, so I just kept it at that 50,000. Okay, so this is street maintenance, but we are working on that. It is public works and street maintenance comes after. So public works, we have here at 74,000. We budgeted last year, so 474,000. We budgeted last year at 466,000. I also included in here the housing stipend that we offered in 2 chunks there. So they get a housing stipend. Or maybe I put that, no, I put that up there. Okay. And then if the crew members get, I did put a little buffer here and I want to be transparent on that, but if they did get a certification, hopefully their water B or their wastewater A or whatever, then we would give them a bump in their salary. Health insurance went up, really hits us here because we have so many employees. What else is big here?
Lori, can we go back a little bit?
Yes.
Under public safety, I didn't see the ambulance. Are we still splitting with the county?
Oh, that's in our IGA.
Okay.
Yeah, so that goes straight into our IGA. We don't actually have a line item for that.
But
Thank
does it, in this summary page, it rolled up into,
We don't have a line item.
it's not in any of the. total.
Right. So it gets rolled into at the end when we say, okay, the building inspector had this much money, we split that. And then we see what we owe the county versus what they owe us. Typically, we kind of owe the county.
So it's not included in any of the total expenditure total.
Correct, correct.
But then like, where do we account for it as an expenditure?
We don't. So it comes out as when I show you, there's a spreadsheet that we fill out every year that shows like, I spent this much on building, you spent this much on that. And then at the very end, it comes out as a line item in our revenue for either positive line item or negative.
That was the one that we hadn't filled out, right? Yeah.
That's the one we're still working on.
Was it always budgeted like that? Because I feel like in previous budgets, there was.
No, it's always been done that way for the ambulance.
Okay.
Yeah. For as long as I've been here.
Okay.
And I was trained by Willie to do it that way, so. This one rolls right into employees and then street maintenance down here. So we've got repairs and maintenance. We did boost up to 70, just looking at our actuals, in previous years. That was one of the bigger ones. Dust control has gone up, so our mag chloride
Cost or usage?
cost. Yeah, we are on the bottom of the list, them up here too, so that's been really difficult. No big changes there. Our fuel might go down. So we are looking at purchasing our own fuel tank, with the county. It's actually pretty cheap to do that. And then we would get the fuel at wholesale, so we would save ourselves $1. And this is all an initiative done by John Zarkis when he got here and was like, whoa, we pay full price. So, yeah, he's been looking at that.
That guy's paying dividends. Holy cow. Love it.
Gave him our housing allowance.
And I,
Circus.
the machinery and equipment, it was requested for 10,000 in the 2026 budget. This goes into the carriage house as well. No big changes here, just anticipating higher propane. Okay, that's Public Works. Going on to Parks. Need to zoom in. There we go. Is that good enough? Or you need, I don't know if I can get them all. Okay. Parks, regular employees. So this also included our events in there, and that's why you'll see that this is budgeted down because we don't have a full-time events person anymore. And this is also where we're requesting a full-time employee for parks if we want to prioritize some of the projects we have going on. If we did that, this would go down to 25,000.
Does the part-time seasonal include the contract position we have for event coordinating?
No, so that's actually down here in professional service.
Gotcha, thanks.
Mhm.
It's in this bucket, just not.
Yeah, it's in the department, just in a different spot. So this is for professional services, and this is for our contracted event. And then I think I just highlighted this, custodial. Let me just scroll over real quick. Nope. Roll? Nope. Okay, well, I will work on that line item, because I can't.
Because you expect that to go up by the amount in the.
We do, yes. But it's been coded strange in the past where it's either Alsco or cleaning service, and they go to either custodial or cleaning services. So we're still working on cleaning that up.
Real dumb question.
Yeah.
Don't question your.
Well, here's a dumb comment. I'm about to have one. Okay. We're getting rid of the rugs, right?
Yes,
Are we purchasing rugs
yes,
and then cleaning them ourselves?
yes.
Okay.
And not as many rugs.
Sorry.
And not as many rugs.
Then that goes to my comment. Won't custodial costs go up because we're gonna have to be cleaning more?
Not necessarily, because our new cleaner has put that in her contract that she would be cleaning those rugs.
Well, it is going up, Jim. Didn't you see the memo?
Oh, no, I saw that.
No, I see it. Right now,
If you do a deep dive into it, I just,
having someone from Durango come on.
You think it's better value to do also, or do? Is that what they're
I
called?
mean, all
Alsco.
the expense.
so it is expensive. I know.
Yeah.
And sometimes it is a recognized savings. I just was wondering if that had been teased out.
We had talked about times of year,
Yes,
because
yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think you were consulted on this one, right?
we
To
told them to take them.
take it
I
away.
mean, we can do a little bit more cleaning and mopping. It's not a big deal, but
And marketing was a lot lower this year.
Marketing was
Actual?
we didn't have a lot of attention on that one. So we are boosting it back up next year, hopefully get some more marketing in this.
Especially our cool.
We've typically maintained about a $10,000 to $12,000 line item there. This year just didn't get the attention we needed. Don't know why that one's saying 42. Okay. So that is our parks and facilities budget, as far as our, basically, it's not as segmented out as personnel versus, it's kind of all in one there, so. Then we go into park maintenance. So this is for all our parks. This is for Memorial. This is for Anisi. This is for what we use for the softball field. So kind of just think of all of our parks that we have. And so we're about 11,000, which is what we budgeted this year. Operating supplies, we kept it at about 25,000, what we budgeted last year. Hopefully knocking out some key things like gazebo, repair and stuff like that. Let's see, what else do we have?
Are we done with our loan?
No, our loan is down here.
Okay,
So Columbine lease.
never mind.
So we do spend about
5,000 for a while.
Yep, so that is definitely still a priority is spending, but we don't have any more capital here that we're expending out of there. Just down here now.
Go off the top of your head, how many more years will be coming at?
Not off the top of my head, but I do believe it was,
I can't remember.
I think it was 10 years.
At the time, I thought it was
I
10.
thought it was 10 too, but I'll have to double check that. Kendall Mountain Park, we have pretty same budget. So I look at this one and I look at this one. Oops, that one. So we're about the same there. Snow grooming, about the same as we budgeted last year, always anticipating high. And then if we have a lesser year, we spend less.
And is there any more Kendall lift needs that are accounted for here?
So that would be in technical services. So we just kept it the same. But we did in repairs and maintenance, we bumped this up to 20,000 because I think there is one issue that we need to resolve before we open the season.
Okay, thanks.
And I don't remember off the top of my head what.
Yeah, this budget currently accounts for what we think we need for Kendall lift to be operational.
Yeah. And I don't know why I can't scroll to my notes. Let's see, rentals, we do need to, keep it the same as last year because we have, in order to be able to test our own equipment using, I think it's Rosignol, we have to buy like $5,000 worth of their stuff every year. So we put in 2,500 this year, 2,500 next year, and we just try and take it off, so. And then operating supplies, is the same as budgeted last year. We don't always hit that number, but we like to have that buffer just in case. And propane, still there. And
Other capital improvements is potentially where you'd put the roof for the insulation or.
yes, Yep, and that's what we're requesting there. So yeah, so this is what we budgeted this year was about 698,000 total for parks. And we're looking at about 748 next year. That's without the requests though. So that is all of our general fund right now. How you feeling? We are at almost 2 hours and we've got a lot more funds to go. But they might be quicker. And I might say that, yeah, okay,
Wait, we're all here. I think. Yeah.
okay.
As long as you don't judge me.
Sorry, I should have brought food for this one. I'm sorry. There's a lot going on.
Bring it, there's donuts, there's pretzels. From last week. That's all right. Yeah, grab a snack.
All right, so that is our general fund. Library fund. Chatted with Misty. Oh, no.
That's a good idea.
Where we are at there. Oh, I added a sheet. Oh, see, this is one. Okay, so library funds, a lot the same as last year. They don't normally increase. What they did ask for was a COLA raise. So the 2.5% COLA raise is reflected in their library budget. I didn't get a chance to highlight these ones. But basically that transfers from the general fund and, gosh, Misty's gotten like $37,000 worth of grants this year to support all her programming and is anticipating a good chunk next year as well. So at least 25,000 next year. Part-time seasonal employees, we're keeping the same as it was budgeted last year. Honestly, not much has changed on this budget. Automation went up a little bit. And yeah, other than that, it's pretty, we actually went down on our propane. It's called heating oil in our Casell program, but it's our propane. So that gives us about a $2,000 buffer. Do you want to go, since we have Ann here, I'd love to just get through the housing authority stuff. Okay, so I'll have you talk through these guys. And this is hard because these are brand new budgets, so like things have been moving around. Like we had originally budgeted for Ann's position to be in the housing authority fund. Oh, you know, I'm on town home first. I want to go to this one first. So yeah, we had originally said that her salary was going to be coming out of the housing authority fund. And then we realized that because of our grant priorities or requirements, she actually had to come out of our general fund. So it's kind of switching around just to make sure we can get the funds. Fun with funds. All right, Ann.
Yeah, and the same thing goes for two other grants that were awarded to the town.
Yeah,
The housing authority moved them over because I'm managing them, but for auditing purposes and everything, we moved them back over. So it's been a bit of a mess. So we got over $500,000 from the state for the annual townhomes. Just shy of $500,000 for the townhomes as well from the Colorado Health Foundation. County has contributed money. We made money. We made $100 off of housing authority fees this year. Those were application fees. It'll probably be a little bit more than that. I think we're going to open applications this year for the townhomes, so that'll increase as well. And then looking at next year, each year we've had a transfer from the general fund. Next year, I'm requesting we'll call it 11,000 from the general fund. And that is to help cover not discrepancies, but as we moved things around, grants and matches, the housing authority accrued some expenses that actually belong to the town, so trying to just like get the budget balanced again. And that includes, that'll cover expenditures under operational costs for accessibility. We also have to follow all the accessibility things. Programs.
The housing authority have to cover for the town? I'm sorry, did you say that you guys accrued some?
Yeah,
But
like
should it
for every,
town, and can we like make sure that we just pay for it in the future?
yes, that's what we've done. We've moved all the grants back over
Okay, good, okay,
so that the general fund takes care of its
okay, so it's not gonna happen, okay,
grants.
very good.
But when we were balancing our final budget for 2026, we realized we needed $10,000 from the town's general fund in order to create this as a zero base budget, basically no ending fund balance, but no deaths.
Okay.
And so there's about, you can go down to expenditures. Nice, you're there. Citizen engagement, operational expenses, and training. That's kind of like the actual donation of the general fund to the housing authority. And then we aren't going to spend all of our Anvil townhome construction this year. It's budgeted here because we receive a lot of grants to the housing authority that we then send over to the townhomes. This is an estimate. We'll see how it goes in the next few months. We're expected to close on the construction loan tomorrow. So that'll be exciting. Any questions on the housing authority fund? This didn't put any money towards like any future project or programming.
No grant match, no plan banking, no nothing.
You need software or anything, you're good.
It's in there.
Yeah, that one's in there.
Yep. So I could put something together or we could just fly another year and figure it out as we go, which is working.
I mean, wouldn't you say that in terms of project load, like the Silverton Housing Authority is kind of at capacity?
For sure. But if everything goes according to plan and we sell all the townhomes by spring.
Yeah.
Then we'll have, which probably won't happen, but. Yeah, it just depends on. This is definitely like tunnel vision, Anvil townhomes, 100%,
Yeah.
nothing else. We're not doing anything else. So, which is fine, that's a big project and value add to the community.
Oh, I went to the Anvil townhomes already.
Great. This one is fun. $4.4 million.
Oh, yeah. Exciting.
Fine, basically.
Exciting to have a line item like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so. The estimated actual 2025 is based on our construction budget schedule. But all of these numbers are still within the original budget that we adopted and are working on. We'll see how it spreads between this year and next year, but I tried to set it up so that next year was more of the expenses than this year, if that makes sense. We don't overexpend next year. We did have a little bit more expenses from our Region 9 loan through the interest, but the project is actually going to pick that up. We're going to have some money coming in from the construction loan soon to the housing authority or to this fund, kind of recouping some of the pre-development costs that we've spent. Any questions here?
It just looks great. Let's just hope those numbers all stay the same.
With that,
Money gets spent, revenue gets generated, the homes get housing people.
Anna's been doing a great job on it, and this budgeting part has been really a huge headache, but we're getting through it.
2026 will be the year.
Yep. We're gonna have it all figured out. It's hard because we don't have anything to compare it back to, and it's project based, so that makes it a little bit more difficult too, so.
But again, I know this is all hard, but stepping back and saying, that is a huge thing.
Yeah.
To be sitting in a place where the money is coming, the construction loan is secured, the actual homes are like being manufactured.
Yeah.
Way to go, Ann.
Getting there.
Word. That's a really huge project. Thank you.
All right, thanks, Dan. Thanks for sticking with us for 2 hours.
If you have a good partner rubric, let us know.
Here's our conservation trust fund. So again, this is lottery funds that can be spent on parks and recreation. We're up to 97,000 next year estimate. So we get about 7 to 8 grand a year.
And in general, we kind of have thought about this for the trails, right? Perimeter trail.
Yeah, we haven't spent anything in quite a while on it.
Yeah.
That's
Oh.
like, yeah, that's what it's for.
Yeah.
Yeah.
NRD grant manage, I don't know.
I don't know how to get, that's how you
What's the animus from Winter Trail plan was from like 2011?
Oh, I think Anne's River Corridor is like 2003.
I don't know why it went all fuzzy. Oh, there it is. Now we're going on to Mullis Lake Park Fund. So you'll see here, yes.
Do we have all I need more copy. Do we have all the authorizations in place to start the trail?
We are working,
I mean-
as far as land ownership and
Yes.
that, no.
We're gonna be crossing easement.
No, but we have engaged a lot with the train lately. So we've been talking a lot about crossings and stuff like that. So what that would look like and where and at grade, and that's really frowned upon, but I can definitely give you guys an update on that at another time, because it's a fun update.
And maybe maybe we should do it connected to the NRD update. If
Yeah.
NRD.
The RMPPD update too. We'll put it with a bunch of other things that never happen.
Just such a down today.
But yeah, I'll give you guys an update on that one. Mullis Park Fund, we have campground reservations. We budgeted for 220. That's the most we've ever gotten. But this year we are exceeding that. This year we are at to date about 260,000. So we budgeted that for next year. These are the new rates, so we are seeing how they're going. And I haven't gotten the capacity report yet from Jennifer yet. She usually gives me like at what capacity they were at this year. So once I get that, I'll pass that on.
That'd be great to know if the increase was just due to rates, also due to booking. Yeah.
They saw a little bit of a dip, kind of when we all did in town. And I know that the comment was, there was some concern with the rate hikes,
Okay.
but what I will say is no one has griped on those rate hikes.
Right.
No one has. So I think we did the right thing.
Yeah. No, it's a healthy fund there. I will say that this is our previous contracted services was 53,000. And it is up this year, so we're probably gonna be renegotiating that this year. We will be actually on October or something, when we have our meeting. These are the new administrative fees in here. You can see Mullis went up. It was severely underrepresented in our last version. And we do spend quite a bit of time on the water rights, the dam, and the intake up there, as well as maintaining those buildings. And everything else kind of has stayed the same until we have our contract negotiations. But this is our ending fund, predicted ending fund balance in in this fund next year. So it is looking healthy and growing. And there are some big projects that we could be doing up there as well with capacity. Cemetery, we do have a request from the Historic Society to budget for some of the grave repairs.
Can you zoom in?
Yeah, I'm trying to find that one again. Okay, there we go. Oh, there we go. No, too much.
And this was a grant match, right, for grave repair service?
Yeah, so this would be a grant match. So we always budget about $5,000 in this for repairs and whatever we need up there. Sometimes to grant match as well. This year, we didn't spend any of it as of yet. But the Historic Society knows that we have an ending fund balance of about 50,000. And they requested about 30,000 to match 10,000 that they have to do a $200,000 grant
Oh,
Be great. Wow.
for some big grave repairs.
I was gonna say $5,000 doesn't go too far for grave repair. That's much better.
Yeah, so that's the request here.
Where's that grant from?
And that would significantly go down. Oh, History Colorado.
Okay.
I think, I'm assuming the way it's
Yeah.
20%
And they would write it and manage it. They would write it and manage it and do it?
Yeah, they're just requesting 30 from the town to do that. So I didn't write that in because it is a request, but it's on the side right now. That would bring our fund balance back down to about 20 something. Going on to water. So I did a little dance that we are now in the black, and I know people have been feeling the pressures of EQRs, but I want you to know it works right now, and it brought us back up into the black in this fund, and it's very exciting to see that we're finally in the black. So just wanted to say thank you for that. Lodging fee in 2024, we received 28,000. We didn't put it in the budget here because we put it down here. And it is being coded. It was a weird one because we have to separate it out from the other fees. So we're still working on that portion of it, but we're expecting around 18,000 this year.
Because what we said administratively is a portion, the increase of the lodging.
Yeah, so it's $1 here and then $1, or I mean, is it $2? I'll have to double check that.
Yeah.
Starting to get cross-eyed.
I think we would have $2.
Yeah, $2.
So,
So as you can see, our water fees, 6 months in, are about 320,000, which is significantly more than our full actuals in 2024. So we are budgeting for $600,000 to be recovered in that fund, which puts us in a very good spot finally.
and how much more is that gonna go up?
What's that?
Well, we've increased those fees by what, 30% total?
Mm-hmm.
And they said we needed to increase them.
We
don't-
told they were gonna do another 15-20%?
This year. I don't see another increase.
Even for, can this fund absorb,
in my chair?
can this?
No, I don't. Brought it up. I'm not asking for another increase.
This
No,
fund can
no.
absorb our debt service for our USDA loans.
This is our water fund.
It's-
so-
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's fair.
And,
The
but,
next one does get us.
but then we don't have in here, so then, oh, sorry, I'll let you go to expenditures. Never mind.
Yep, going through expenditures here. Let's see, we have something budgeted here. Sorry, I just gotta double check my,
Getting feisty with water and sewer.
oh, backflow testing. Here, the 7,000, other professional there. That way. Oh, I'm learning, guys, learning. There we go. Okay. Repairs and maintenance, we kept the same, but the big thing down here is our water meters. And we put in 125,000 to start the first of 3. And now I do want to preface that we are breaking this down a little bit more for the utility committee on what that looks like moving forward. But this budget
I know.
does absorb those meters, which was very exciting. Other professional, we kind of kept everything the same here too, knowing that Zarkus is new and we didn't want to change too much right off the bat. Except for water, and we do have a request for a water resiliency. Basically fund $50,000 for potential purchasing of water rights and helping with the legal process for that.
That feels like an essential service of government.
Yeah.
Where would we be purchasing them from?
That is an executive session that we will talk about soon.
Water resiliency was something that John Seitz was trying to work on a little bit, and I know it's something that's pretty important.
Yeah.
No, that's.
Oh, no.
John has picked up that baton and is in some negotiations right now that when it is ready, we will bring to you all for consideration. Exciting.
Very good.
Let's see here, administrative fees. So I'll show you here. We've reduced administrative fees from the water by almost 170,000 with the new calculation. And then we have our loan that we usually do, so that one just keeps going. And this is the fun part is in 2023, our ending fund balance was 84,000. And we grew it a little bit and now we grew it a lot more. And so in 2026, we're looking at 299,000, which will get us somewhere.
Oh, you're welcome.
Oh my God. Well played.
Any questions?
Y'all know our finance committee meetings and utility meetings that the grant is being charged.
Yep.
Premium rates way before it was cool to be charging everyone else.
Within your fair share.
You are.
Yeah.
I'm fun on the planning or the public facility.
My computer just decided, oh, there we go.
Okay.
To show us. Let me do it that way, is it? Okay.
I have to say, the sewer project has been much less invasive than
Yeah,
anybody
really,
thought.
really pleasantly surprised.
Yeah, shockingly
It's very gentle,
gentle.
very gentle.
Where am I gonna find a cone today, you know?
Yeah.
So for the sewer enterprise fund, this is also good news. We're not gonna need another rate increase this next year. So celebrate those right now, because that's
I
exciting.
guess, you know what, never mind.
No.
So the fees
Well-
service the debt. Our USDA loan.
Yes,
The
Yeah.
fees currently service the
Debt.
debt. Okay,
I would
this debt,
this
I
debt.
would just point out that like, if we're gonna wait,
eventually.
we have to go up again in 2 years, right? And if we need to go up another 30%, would it be better to go up 10% next year? And then,
Yes, that's an option.
But our baseline is that we don't.
I would hit it right.
10, 10 and
Mhm.
zip not.
No, and that's absolutely an option because we know we have our wastewater treatment plant coming up.
oh, totally.
So for sewer fees, we are up as well. You'll see our 6-month actual is nearing our 2023 actual, which is awesome because we're actually making money now in this account. And so how that looks here, it's kind of skewed a little bit because we've got this big loan proceed in there. But basically next year, we're looking at about 478,000, as opposed to last year, we had about 351. So not as big as the water, but we are getting somewhere. Let's see here, that's pretty much the same. Operating supplies, we did bump up to 5,000. There's some safety equipment needed, and some other, I can't get to my notes here. I don't have those notes no, I don't have those notes. So if you have questions on that one, I can definitely, oh wait, maybe no. Okay, sorry guys, I'm navigating this keyness. Where are we? Okay. We did have 20,000 for development standards budgeted this year, so hopefully we can get through that this year. If not, we're gonna have to bump that to next year. So just a line item there. And then here we have, and this is coming before you guys in the next meeting on the 22nd, is a potential second opinion on our engineering. So another engineering service would come in and give us another kind of scope and scale, and potentially a lot less money than the $18,000 scope and scale that we received before.
18 million.
Oh, sorry, 18 million.
What is for 18,000?
Right there.
Right there.
The sewer we've reduced in the past because we were going into the black, the administration fees. So this year it does look higher than previous years, but we actually had to emergency reduce those fees so that we could take on debt in this and not be in the negative. So how we're looking overall is, and this 92,800 will be in perpetuity for 10 years, I believe. I'll double check that. But that's for our sewer fund, for our collection system project. But we are still maybe gaining a little bit of ground here. We have an ending fund balance at the end of this year, looking at 373, and we're looking to gain about 100,000 next year into this fund.
It's worth it, guys.
Yeah, now for the bad news.
I was gonna say, despite the post office.
So it sounds like you all would be amenable to a slight increase in the sewer. But I want to just grab your attention here with the refuse fund. So negative fund balances. We have been supporting it. Last year we gave 106,000. This year we're slated to give 46,000. And next year you'll see we're going to need to infuse it again as well.
Did our contracted rate, how much did it increase this year?
Well, it hasn't increased as much as, and I haven't worked on this one totally.
Yeah.
Because we didn't even.
So it hasn't increased as much as it has in the year past. And we are working with them because we didn't have the camper trash and they didn't pick up downtown. So that reduces hopefully our overall contract by about 30,000, was our guesstimate.
Right, but we're still over. Like,
Yeah.
I think this is the thing that it's really hard to help people understand is like, there's no slush fund here. This is how much we have to pay for this service, and we're not charging the rates for this service. Again, because trash is generated by not just the ratepayers.
Unless we can find has anybody found another trash service that we can?
None of.
No, I look.
I know.
That's funny, I saw you did. But does this for the conversation further to invest on our own?
We can't take
Generator.
debt though. This is the other super big challenge on this fund is that even if we wanted to explore other alternatives, it's not an enterprise fund.
We have to get it solvent first.
It's the same problem we had with water and meters and EQRs and.
So our administration fee for this one is looking about 70,000, according to our new administration. And if we charge that to this account, we will then be a negative 80,000 balance, and we would need to cover that with the general fund. So.
I mean, again,
Show you that.
there's like a philosophical argument that says, well, we collect a high sales tax that is collected from visitors and locals, and that can be used to help subsidize trash. That's fine. But the problem is, again, that if we wanted to explore any alternatives, we can't take on any loans. We can't invest in any infrastructure. We can't pay for anything additional here. So we're like stuck.
Yeah, and I did the math. If we wanted to raise rates, it would be about 23,000 to cover that $80,000, or sorry, $23 a billing cycle, and that would cover the 80,000 if we wanted to cover it through rates.
That's another discussion for another time.
Yeah.
I think trash along Main Street has gone down because no one can open those damn things anyway.
It's not getting tipped over though, Jim.
They're not getting tipped
Down
over,
to
but people are
this
losing a finger. You're scary.
So this is kind of an introduction to every line item, so you all have it. And then we'll continue these conversations as we move forward. Is there any direction from this conversation that you guys would like to give me tonight?
I'd like to ask the board if we want to make. Do we want to make an executive decision of saying, put COLA raises in the budget, or would you like to have that as part of a larger prioritization? Like, because if we are wanting to do something like that, then that gives Gloria a starting framework of all the other things.
Fought for raises last year, I'd probably do it again, so you'll get that from me.
Me too.
I think, yeah, cost of living.
Are we in a position to give raises?
Well, maybe then it needs to be part of the prioritization conversation, because again, it's a line, it's kind of like, what is the board's philosophy? Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess let's keep that, let's center it within the conversation around other priorities too.
Okay.
I just wanted to put that out there. If there was clear direction to say, yep, build that into the budget and work from there, and if there wasn't, then.
Should we wait for our compensation study? Because are there going to be caps and are there going to be limits? And should we base the
We're gonna
roll
refund
off
on
of that to make sure that it's
Shit.
Yeah, good point.
Okay.
we vote to increase town board pay.
In guys, 800%.
None of you will get it, but
It let the kids for ice cream, let's just put it that way.
All right.
Sorry. Anything else for the board, to add for Gloria, assumptions?
Is there any of those staff requests that you want to put in right away, or you want to kind of wait on those until we have like bigger priority discussions?
I do think it is weird though for the library to budget to include COLA salaries and nothing else.
Well, they don't have healthcare.
That's right, they didn't see the increase in healthcare.
They didn't see any increase in healthcare, whereas every other department's off at 14.1%.
Right, so that was the rationale there.
Yeah, that was the rationale there.
Yeah, okay.
Utilities are going up across the board. It is what it is.
Is there anything on the staff requests? We have pay adjustments. I think we should leave that to the compensation discussion. We have groomer financing.
We
Replacement.
have more information on that one.
also, you guys said you hadn't had any bites on the groomer, but now's the time of year where people are.
Oh, yeah, now we're getting like weird offers.
Yeah,
From
cash money. We want cash money.
The replacement vehicle, I think that's necessary to fund there to add in.
Go ahead.
No, I was just, sorry.
Replacement vehicle.
Vehicles plural.
Are we,
We can use that
What
for,
does that mean?
$10,000.
so a new pickup truck?
So in Gloria's memo, Gloria's gonna go forward from here.
yeah,
But if there is anything that this board right now could say, oh, wait a minute, we all agree, we want you to include that in the next iteration. And so we're looking at the staff request section of the memo and see, is there anything right on there that we would absolutely say, yeah, build that in the next iteration?
The insulation,
Or one
the
vehicle?
insulation project,
So,
because
It
the
is two vehicles.
But it's $10,000 total, that's it.
maybe
Oh, okay.
on government auction,
yeah.
Okay. Yes.
essentially given to us by Montrose.
Nice.
dividends.
Like it. Damn it, that guy. If I said it once, I'll say it again.
Sounds like a good hire.
I say it again.
Are we putting that in our compensation philosophy? No. So replacement vehicles, I'm hearing a yes. I heard
I think the
insulation.
insulation's a yes, because it'll save on heating and it'll save us money.
Mm-hmm.
I have a question about the insulation that might just get us in somewhere else, but you said there's been mice and rodents eating through the insulation.
This would then also prevent them from coming in.
Okay. I was-
Yeah. Yeah, there's a whole plan for it.
Just increase building housing for rats. Charge them higher fees to use the basement.
That's right.
Okay, insulation and then the larger items are roof fix and position. Other ones we want to kick off there or just we feel good with that?
I think you need to add some stain on the building too.
That's included in the maintenance line item.
It's budgeted for this year.
Yeah, no, it's budgeted for next year now.
That's what I mean. Fine.
But it's gonna be about $12,000.
Okay, and it's already in.
That's 2 coats,
And then
1,000 a coat.
I guess I'd hold off right now until we get more information of what this other full-time position for Parks and Rec will entail.
Okay. And the roof fix. I think we need to have our capital improvements discussion.
Yeah.
Okay.
Is that helpful?
Yep, that's,
Anything else you want this board to make a decision on right now?
nope, that is what I needed.
Thank you, Gloria.
Thank you.
Val for being here. Great.
We're staying awake.
All right, any other questions from the board? No, okay, the time is 7:23. It's the end of the session.
You.
Thanks, guys.